What is the DTC? I'm curious if anybody actually knows what DTC stands for. I'm going to sit and I'm going to wait for a minute, see if anybody actually knows what the DTC stands for. What's going on there, lady? I still need them trade lines from you, Miss Ma'am. So, hit me whenever you get a moment so that I can get that from you. I still need those trade lines. Matter of fact, I got some folks that need them trade lines. So if you could, please give me a holler so we can get that stuff situated. It'd be a beautiful thing. Everybody else that's on here, what's the DTC? I'm going to learn you tonight. I'm going to learn you tonight. You's going to learn something. Lauren, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, come on here, man. I try to, drop a little knowledge game for y'all right quick, man. See if I can just wake you up a little bit. So, what is the DTC? I know we're a little late. Ordinarily I come on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I've been a little hectic. Trying to get some other stuff done business wise. So, apologize for jumping on so late with y'all, but I figured I'll come on and see if we can drop a little knowledge game for you. So the question is, what is the DTC? I'll give you a hint. The middle part of DTC is trust. What is the DTC? And the reason why I'm asking you all this is that, I find that a lot of people sit and, they talk about money, they talk about getting money. You got a lot of people that, are bosses and, or consider themselves to be bosses and things to that effect and extent. But the one unique thing about, being able to consider or call yourself a boss is that, you have a complete overstanding of commerce, of any and all commercial transactions. Because if you don't have a complete overstanding of commerce and any and all commercial transactions, then that means that somebody that comes along that does have an overstanding of commerce, if you will, then they have the ability to be able to run circles around your boss ass. So, again, I'm gonna pose the question while we still having people populate the page. What is DTC? I'll give you a hint. It engages in every commercialized transaction that actually happens in the United States of America. So every commercial transaction actually runs through this particular portal. Anybody know what the DTC is? Everybody looking it up right now. Sauce Boss, you need to know what the DTC stands for. It's the stuff you need to get down pat. DTC. Anybody know what DTC stands for? Okay, I done gave y'all long enough, so I'm gonna hook you up. DTC is Depository. Oh, look at there. Depository Trust Company. DTC is Depository Trust Company. DTC, Depository Trust Company. I'm actually going to run a quick video right quick so you all can get up to speed with this so you know what we're talking about. So, Depository Trust Company. Let's hit play. Actually, let's hit full screen right quick, and we'll hit play on this. Let me see if we can back this out so y'all can see this. Try not to get too far away.
The Depository Trust Company, founded in 1973 and based in New York City, is one of the world's largest securities depositories. It provides electronic record-keeping of securities balances and acts like a clearinghouse to process and settle trades in corporate and municipal securities. Because the DTC is an automated system, it lowers trading costs, improves accuracy, and increases the number of trades that can occur each day. Before the DTC existed, the New York Stock Exchange had grown so popular that it was having trouble handling its trade volume, which was then in excess of 8 million shares per day. Thanks in part to the DTC, the NYSE now can handle billions of shares per day. Jenna is the CFO of XYZ Corp, an institutional investor. She uses the DTC as a custodian for XYZ's corporate stocks and bonds, municipal bonds, and money market instruments. It settles funds at the end of each trading day using the Fedwire Fund Service. She trusts the DTC because it is registered with the SEC, is a member of the Federal Reserve System, and is owned by many companies in the financial industry, with the NYSE being one of its largest shareholders. Jenna not only uses the DTC as a custodian for XYZ's investments, she also uses it to manage XYZ's own shares. In addition to safekeeping, record-keeping, and clearing services, the DTC provides direct registration, underwriting, reorganization, and proxy and dividend services. For example, when XYZ Corp declares a dividend, the DTC announces it, collects the dividend payment from XYZ, allocates dividends to shareholders, and reports those payments. Securities, brokers, dealers, institutional investors, depository institutions, issuing and paying agents, and settling banks use the DTC. But when Jenna places trades in her own account as an individual investor, she does not interact with the DTC. Her financial institution does.
Okay, so there's a unique equation that's in play, and I want to see if everyone actually grabbed hold of this yet. Let me pause this right quick. Okay, there's a unique equation that is in play that I think that everybody should kind of sit and just give thought to as a whole. Is that for the most part, no one understood or no one knew what the depository trust company is or was. However, we're all at a stage to where we're sitting and saying, we want to be extremely wealthy. We want to make a bunch of money. We want to take care of our families. We want nice things, yada, 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 if you will. But, the problem that we have as a body or as a people, if you will, is that when we don't understand the core based component of what we really want, if you will, then we essentially move into a phase of I think, for lack of better terms, we'll just we'll kind of call it being just lost. And for most of us, the reason why I think I'll word it as being lost is that if you're an individual that right now you're still sitting and you're saying, hey, for instance, the government creates the money. If you're still sitting and saying that, then it means that you're probably at this point, at this particular point in your life, you're not using your smartphone for smart shit. And if you are somebody that's sitting and saying, okay, well, I know that, the government doesn't print the money. I know that the government isn't technically responsible for the distribution of money, and that comes from the Federal Reserve Bank, if you will. So then my next question, literally becomes, okay, well, who owns the Federal Reserve Bank? And if you noticed in this video, there was an area, let's see if we can back it up.
That can occur each as an automated system trades in corporate and municipal securities. Because the DTC is an automated system, it lowers trading costs, improves accuracy, and increases the number of trades that can occur each day. Before the DTC existed, the New York Stock Exchange had grown so popular, which was then in excess in part to the DT shares per day. Jenna is the CFO.
Okay, I want you to pay attention. Okay, I want you to pay attention to this particular part right here, because this is a very, very, very important part. So let me play this for you guys.
Institutional investor. She uses the DTC as a custodian for XYZ's corporate stock.
Okay, she uses the DTC as a custodian. So when I've sat and I've spoken to individuals before with regards to, like, for instance, your name, and what you have been referring to is your name, your social security card, your birth certificate, your car, your house. The issue and the problem that I've, consistently described to individuals is that you technically sit as a custodian over these particular items. You are even a custodian over the namesake that you're currently running around calling your name. You're just a custodian for that particular entity, meaning you're a holder in due course, if you will, for lack of better terms. You're just you are almost like a trustee, but not quite that type of power. So, so the reason why I'm describing this to you all is that it's not until as a body of people that we actually really wake up and start to come to a point of understanding this world that we're in. One of the posts that I put out, literally described the fact that, we're constantly at a phase where it's like a black-white thing. It's, black guys, it's white guys, white ladies, black ladies. It's a black-white equation. But the real issue, the real root of the problem in this world, in this country as a whole, is actually commerce. And it is the failure of the people to actually understand the very thing that is literally controlling every aspect of our life. And we literally, as a vast majority of people, have no attachment to even the understandings of commerce. We are also at a point to where when we, I've constantly heard individuals sit and say they and them. When it comes to anything, in this world in terms of a power, it's always a they and a them. They won't let us. They, them, them people. And, whenever I'm talking to people, my hue, if you will, prototypically they or them, they're speaking in the sense of white people, if you will. Well, one of the things that I've consistently kind of described to people is anybody that's calling themselves a color, whether they are black or whether they are white, if you will, they still fall under a chattel property system, if you will. So the only differences that we have between a quote unquote black person and a white person is in some instances, favoritism with regards to penalty structures. But at the end of the day, those two entities are still enslaved collectively. I think one of the most masterful things to ever take place in this world is to move a body of people to a place to where they don't actually realize that they are all collectively enslaved, if you will, because they're given the perception of freedoms, if you will. So let's break this one down even further. The reason why we went through the depository trust entity, and one of the areas that I wanted you to listen to, was the fact that the depository trust and its shares, the largest shareholder is the NYSE. So I beg to ask the question of each and every last one of you all: if you are a boss, if you are somebody that you about getting money, you about taking life to a whole nother level, so on and so forth, why is it that you do not own shares in the Depository Trust Corporation? Why is it that you do not own shares in the Depository Trust Corporation? Why is it that you do not own shares in the prison system right now? That's one of the biggest areas that we're working on, as a collective body right now is, I've grown exhausted with the fact that everyone's sitting and talking about the fact of that our system is broken, our system is fucked up, our system is bad, the racial inequality, the social and economic inequalities, if you will, it's all bad, everything is horrible, but then nobody's doing anything about it. And then you might sit and say, well, Billion, how can I do something about it? It's real simple. If you effectively are one of the shareholders in the company, let's take the, let's pull it up while we have it here. I keep picking on this particular company, but that's only because we have a bunch of shares in it. So I keep picking on them, but it's because we have a bunch of shares in this particular company. If you were at a stage to where you effectively owned a good majority share in this particular company, then you would be at a point to where you could actually show up to their shareholders meeting and sit and say, hey, here's what we don't want to have happen. As some of your largest shareholders, what we don't want to have happen is we don't want you to spend any of your discretionary income on lobbying for tighter restrictions on this, or lobbying for laws to be passed on that. See, what most people don't realize or overstand is that the real problem, again, the real root issue is not black, it's not white, it is commerce. The real root, and everyone keeps calling commerce, they keep calling it like, they call it money. So, it's like people that have money, people that don't have money, and so on and so forth. Well, in actuality, what it really is it's people that actually have an overstanding of commerce and how the systematic structure works, if you will. And then what they do is they take their capital and they use their capital towards injecting influence into a commercialized system, which then turns right back around and feeds more commerce into their account structures. I know that shit probably just went over a whole bunch of people's head. So I'm gonna run it back. Let's see if we can break this one down. If we'll double back over here to, I'm gonna skip around. For those of you all that this is your first time being with me, one of the things that I do, unfortunately and fortunately, is that I tend to go around in circles. So sometimes y'all gonna have to just bear with me. Eventually, I'll get back to where it is that that we need it to be from a communication component. By the time you finish, you re-listen to this thing, you'll have a complete aha moment and realize the fact that, I wasn't some crazy madman just sitting on here talking nonsense, if you will. So y'all just have to bear with me for a little second. Let's see, where were we at? We were with a video. Let's pull that video up. The video was here. Depository trust. So the reason why I started with the depository trust area is because, again, if you don't understand this very key component, I'm going to hit play on this one more time, and I'm going to let them say it to you. So let me hit play on
bonds, municipal bonds, and money market instruments. It settles funds at the end of each trading day using the Fedwire Fund Service. She trusts the DTC because it is registered with the SEC, is a member of the Federal Reserve System, and is owned by many companies in the financial
industry. So now let me make sure I understand this complete. Everybody that's running around is sitting and saying they're a boss. You about that life. You making shit happen. You were, you're worth all kinds of money. The whole nine. But you have no ownership whatsoever in the Depository Trust Corp. I mean, not one share, not one share in the Depository Trust Corporation, not one. But see, so let me explain. Everyone runs around and they hear like Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett is this great guru investor and so on and so forth. But what you hear about is you hear about the ancillary corporations. What I mean by the ancillary corporations is these are the things that you hear about, the Geicos of the world, in the, what the hell else is he, whatever other little, I shouldn't say little, other companies, public style companies, you hear about those, but if you pulled a K1 report, okay, so most of you all don't even know what a K1 report is. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I hate when I see people on Instagram and shit, and they got a bunch of money held to their ear, whatever had you talking about money calling, and then they have no fucking clue as to what a K1 report is. You understand what I'm saying? Like, to me, the next time you see somebody, like even your one dude, your one little rapper dude that be sitting and he throw out a little money, he be sleeping on the money and counting all his money and walking around with, 100, 200, 300,000, whatever it is. Ask him if he know what the hell a depository trust corporation is. Ask him if he, if he has any shares, in Core Civic. See, because the thing is that this is the very entity, if you will, that is responsible. This is one of quite a few entities that is responsible for why every damn thing you do is illegal. Let me say that again for everybody, so you understand what I'm saying to you. This particular company, amongst several other companies, is the very reason why every damn thing is illegal. This particular company, and amongst other companies, what they do is they effectively they donate money to super PACs. Any of you all that have been following me for a while, if you will, you all know, about super PACs. I have effectively developed and cultivated a super PAC. And it's part of the reason why I was in Reno. I'm now, in Oregon, actually, kicking it, trying to close out a couple of transactions here. But part of the reason why I was in Reno is because my super PAC is essentially funding lobbyists that will essentially lobby for different things that we need to have happen in the state of Nevada. Okay, so this particular company here, what they do is they donate money to a super PAC. And when they donate money to the super PAC, if you will, then the super PAC turns around and it effectively goes and legally has the ability to be able to pay lobbyists. Those lobbyists then have the ability to then go and get with lawmakers, if you will, and sit and donate to the lawmakers' nonprofit entities that they have, and other corporate structures and so on and so forth that those entities may effectively have, if you will. It may not necessarily be a direct handoff of $10 million, if you will, but it is a structured handoff of $10 million. You understand what I'm saying? So now, when this particular company, and again, I'm just picking on them, there are a whole multitude of, privately held prisons and so on and so forth. But when this particular company turns around and sits and says, hey, let me, I donated this to the super PAC. The super PAC then turned around and, went and got with, Governor blah, 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 went and got with, Senator blah, 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 Congressman blah, 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 and sat and said, hey, Congressman, I know that you want some schools built in your area, so how about, what this super PAC will end up doing is they will effectively donate the capital that is necessary in order for the school to be built. So it may not necessarily be a direct monetary handoff, if you will, but it can essentially be a handoff through a lobbyist, if you will. So, doubling back on this, and here's why I'm sitting and I'm explaining and I'm stating this to you all, is that every individual on here right now, you all have the ability to be able to, one, purchase the shares of publicly traded companies. One of the things that I talked about before is that something that people constantly, will sit and say or describe or whatever have you, is the fact of that, well, I don't have any money, or I have very little money, and so on and so forth. One of the things that I've been. All right. Yep. Sorry about that, guys. You know what it is when somebody just literally call you like 3-4 times and you just like, man, what the hell? Okay, sorry. We back. We back, man. I'm sorry about that, y'all. Okay, so what I was sitting and describing was just the fact that each and every last one of you all at this particular point can actually purchase shares of these different corporate entities, right? But you the thing is that if you're sitting and settling on the fact that, okay, well, I don't have any money. So let's look at this one little simple situation. Let's just sit and say, okay, you sitting and describing the fact that right now you don't have money. So at this very moment, what you need to have in order to purchase a single share of this particular company is $22.29. In order to purchase a single share of this particular company, you need $22.29. Let me say that again. In order to purchase a single share of this particular company, you need $22.29, but you don't have no money. Now, here's the thing. Is that in purchasing this particular company, the one thing that you have in play that you've got to sit and really think about and consider is the fact that, okay, well, is the prison system, is it going to just drop in value all of a sudden? Are we going to just stop locking people up? Is that what's going to happen? Are we going to just stop? If we ain't going to just stop locking people up, then now I would venture to say that this is a pretty good, place where fuck a 401k, I'm buying into prisons. You understand what I'm saying? Fuck a 401k, take my money, I'm putting it in prisons. Why? Because right now, the lobbyists, if you will, that are representing these different prisons, if you will, these private prisons, the lobbyists, if you will, have made it and structured things in a manner and a vein to where again, you drive down the damn street, you get pulled over, if you will. The next damn thing you sitting behind damn bars, if you will. The bond industry is changing completely. They're now starting to corporatize the bonding industry, as a whole. And why? Because enough people have not learned this simple area to be able to control everything. You see, if right now there's 109 people on here, if 109 individuals bought shares, just literally sat and said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a quarter of everything that I make, every month. Okay. I'm going to just take a quarter of it every month, and I'm going to just buy shares in this particular company here every month. Then and you did it, your cousin did it, and the rest of the individuals on here, they did it, they cousins, they mama, whoever, they did it. Then collectively, you all got together, you all communicated as a whole, if you will, to where you all essentially formed your own control group. In your own control group, if you will, if you all decided to essentially get rid of the shares of your company, or you decided to get rid of the shares of the company, or you decided to turn around and short this particular company, you would hurt their stock price. You would hurt their stock price. So the reason why you would be at a point of selling your shares of the company or shorting the company is because you went to a shareholders meeting, or you contacted the CEO of the company or whatever have you, and they did not do the things that you needed for them to do. Because you're a part of this company, you need the company to function in a certain manner and a vein. And one of those veins might be the fact that you may be passionate about the fact of teens, getting charged as adults. You might be passionate about that. Well, let me tell you who's responsible for teens being charged as adults. So the thing is that you personally sitting and writing your senator, your congressman, your alderman, and the whole nine. And the thing is you writing them, you going and talking to them, all of that stuff, that's great. But at the end of the day, these people is paying them. So who you think they listening to? You who is writing, or those who is paying? Come on. Process that information right quick. Who you think they really talk? Who they really listening to? Those that are writing, those that's outside with picket signs and shit like that, or those that are paying? Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's the thing that you have to sit and process as a whole, and where, you know, you have a lot of individuals that keep running around there saying, unite, unite, everybody unite. But no one is explaining how to actually unite and get change. Yo, check this out. Peep this. I want all y'all to really process this information right quick. So you got this particular company here, right? But then let's go over here to this particular company right here. This is a dope equation. I think this is the one right here. This is the is this them operating facilities? Nope, that's not them. Where do I want to go? Cornell's, not Cornell. Hang on, I want y'all to see, because there's one company here that I thought was really ideal for you all, for everybody to sit and look at. Let me click here. I don't think it's them either. No. Hang on. The company that I'm looking for, I thought it was Cornell, but I don't think it's, let's see, more Cornell. I thought it was Cornell. It is the company, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but what they do is they actually service all of the telecommunications inside of the different prisons. So, you know, basically when someone is at a point to where you have to call one of your loved ones, it costs like $1 billion for you to call one of your loved ones in jail, or for them to call you, or whatever have you. So this company, I'll look for it, you know, for you guys, but this company is the company, you know, or one of the largest companies that actually services the telecommunication, you know, as a whole. You understand what I'm saying? You know, that's, you know, the like the crazy, let me see it. Maybe it's G4S. No, I'm going to find it for you guys, and I'm going to send it to you guys. But my point is that right now, each and every last one of you, each and every last one of us, if we really truly sit and desire change, then the key becomes the fact that we have to go and own the companies that essentially is causing the problem itself. You understand what I'm saying? We've got to go in, we got to own the companies. And so let me see if I can break this ideology down to you all. Because again, if you own Geo Group, for instance, you own shares in Geo Group, and let's just hypothetically, let's just sit and say that you managed to convince, you know, all your friends, all your family, or whatever have you, to where all you all did was, that's it, Global Tel, thank you. You managed to convince all your friends, all your family, or whatever have you, to sit and just buy these prison stocks right along with you, right? And then in conjunction with that, you also sat and decided to form a super PAC. Collectively, if you will, you went and registered your stuff, the whole nine. I mean, like literally you took these steps to where anytime anything negative happened in your community, happened in your area, if you will, you have buying power that is behind you, if you will, that sits and says, hey, you know, in this particular region, if you will, you know, youth, again, I'm gonna go back to youth are being taken and being sentenced as adults, you know, even though they're minors and so on and so forth. We need to have this changed. So you then effectively put pressure on the CEO of Geo Group, if you will. You put pressure on them by way of sitting and saying, look, we own 500,000 shares, you know, in this company, or we own, you know, we own a million shares in this company. And again, and I'm sitting and I'm describing this. A lot of things that people don't really think about is that even though you're at a point right now to where monetarily you might not be at a stage of sitting and saying, okay, I got a million shares in this. If you literally did this over the course of time with you, your family, your friends, if you all did it over the course of time, then what you're literally looking at is the fact that you're building, you know, in an adverse effect. I mean, it's crazy. You're building an inheritance for your children's children, because again, these things are not disappearing. but they can be controlled. They're not disappearing. As you know, we can sit all day long and talk about the abolishment, of the pre-existing prison system. We can sit and talk about the abolishment, of financial systems and so on and so forth. But these things aren't going anywhere. And because they're not going anywhere, if you will, then the most ideal thing to do is to figure out how you can group with sound, solid-minded people to actually sit and say, let's change and adjust the way things happen in these prisons. Let's change and adjust where the money that these prisons are earning. Let's change and adjust where they're sending the money that they're earning, because they're spending the money on lobbyists. They're spending them. I mean, like literally, if you just went through and just started pulling up the different SEC filings of all of these companies, you will see that they're spending billions of dollars on lobbyists. But the thing that the job of the CEO of these companies, the job is to protect the share price. That's their job. Look at here, this company here, their share price is $2.25. Their share price is $2.25. The job of this particular individual is to protect the share price of the company. So if you are at a stage where you own a whole bunch of shares in this company in conjunction with a whole bunch of other individuals that are around you that own a whole bunch of shares, if you all decided to short this particular company for whatever reason, if you will, you shorted this particular company, you all stand to be at a stage of moving the needle. And see, the thing is that this individual that is CEO, the vast majority of their pay package is the shares of this company. Come on now. I'm explaining some shit to y'all, man. Like, if y'all really cared about some change and shit, and y'all at a point where y'all ain't around here bullshitting, like really bullshitting, talking about some, I want change. Just, it's fucked up what they're doing to black people. They're killing black people. They're killing, if you really wanted some change and shit, like, this is exactly how you change shit. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to go outside. You ain't got to go picket no shit. You ain't got to do none of that. None of that. All you have to do is literally take the capital right now. You selling hours of your life. Let's just call it what it is. Everybody that got jobs, even if you own a business or whatever have you, if you got to be at that business, you selling hours of your life. So all I'm sitting and saying is that what you do is you take them hours that you selling, take the capital that's coming from that, if you will, and you start to essentially put capital into the things, into the areas that will affect the change in your city, affect the change in your state, affect the change in our country as a whole. You all get together, y'all band together, shit, y'all can create a coalition. If y'all, hey, listen, if you really want to be an asshole about it, you can just be like niggas that own prisons. Coalition. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you really want to be an asshole about it, you can just be like, niggas that own prisons. the coalition. You feel me? Right now I'm developing and cultivating a campaign. I'm developing and cultivating a campaign right now, which is prisoners, a prisoner buyback program. Meaning, everybody always talking shit about the fact that you should own your own home and all that other shit or whatever have you, right? Everybody talk that shit. So I'm like, well, why the fuck, you got all these people that are in jail, why the fuck they don't own shares of the jail? Hello. Y'all weren't ready for that shit either, huh? Prisoner buyback program. Own your own home. If you got to be in jail for 20 years, you should at least own a piece of the fucking jail. Come on. If you got to be in jail for 20 years, you should at least own a piece of the jail. You know what I'm saying? You got to be in that motherfucker for 20 years. Or whatever time it is, you should at least own a piece of it. There is no law that says that a prisoner can't own the shares of the fucking jail. No law. So why is it, all of them, every prisoner that's working or whatever have you, or in jail, every prisoner in jail, even though it's like slave labor and they get paid peanuts and shit, they still getting paid type situation. Why not be at a point of taking that money, that them little peanuts that they paying? Hey, listen, I want, can you go ahead and just hook me up, take my little peanuts that you paying me, give me that $2.25. You know what I'm saying? Give me that $2.25 share. I'm gonna be buying shares while I'm sitting in jail. All I'm doing is just fucking buying shares of the goddamn company. Come on. You see what I'm saying? And so now when they up in here and they in that damn jail cell and they beat the shit out of a nigga or whatever have you, what we gonna do? We gonna press the button the next day and we shorten the shit out of the stock. every time some shit happen bad in jail, we short the stock. Short the goddamn stock. You understand what I'm saying? You know, I mean, again, or you can just do the contrary, which is continue to just complain about some shit. You could just do that. I'm just saying. You know, you could just do the contrary, just keep complaining, about it. Cause that complaining shit works. That blaming white people for the problem, that shit works, right? It's been working for, forever, right? We got all kinds of great shit going on because black people run around blaming white people for shit. We got all kinds of great shit going on because white people run around blaming black people for shit. That shit works, right? And wrong fucking answer. That shit don't fucking work. It ain't work. It's got us in this fucked up ass system we in right now where black people, white people done been grouped in the fucking together. Everybody's sitting and be talking about the fact that, oh, well, you got white people that go and they do all kinds of shit or whatever have you. You shoot up a place or whatever and they're still living. And the black guy, selling cigarettes, he dies and so on and so forth. It is as simplistic as overstanding the color codes in the way the system is set up. The system is set up in a manner and vein where we are both effectively enslaved as long as we are running around calling ourselves colors. We are both effectively enslaved in the same exact commercialized system, if you will. The only difference is the rules and regulations with regards to lighter tone entities versus darker tone entities, if you will. The penalty is less severe, but we are still we're still both slaves. If you a house nigga in a field nigga, you still a goddamn slave, right? It don't matter. You house nigga, you field nigga. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's what that's what individuals fail to realize or fail to understand when you sitting and you talking to that quote unquote white person, if you will. What that quote unquote white person has is they have house nigga status. What you have as a darker tone entity, you have field nigga status. Field niggas get their foot cut off and shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just, this is the reality of what it is. I mean, you might upset you, as a pale skin, entity, if you will. I call you pale skin because I don't like calling you white. You're my brothers. You my sisters. As a dark skin entity, I don't like calling you black because you're not black. You know what I'm saying? You're Aborigine. This is your land. This has always been your land. And so instead of us sitting here complaining about the fact of that we are being done wrong, why don't you utilize your commercial energy, your commercial capabilities to be at a point, to be at a position of buying your fucking land back? I was politicking with some brothers that was Moors, man. And, brothers, man, sometimes they can be real militant like, and the militant like functionality is this is our shit and I'm just like, listen, man, you ain't about to be at no point you can't take this shit from these folks. These folks got a standing fucking army. You can't take no shit from these folks. They got a standing fucking army. Plus, they've been preparing the shit that the shit that we're in today. They've been developing and cultivating it for 100 years now. You understand what I'm saying? You developing cultivate a plan for 10 seconds ago and think that you about to topple over something that's been in the works for hundreds of years. You fucking crazy. No, man. The key is you turn around and you utilize the system that they developed and cultivated. Use the system that they developed and cultivated against them. It's that simple. And when I say that in the sense of the vein of that this is a commercialized system. Use the commercial system in order to be at a point of turning around and buying your lands back. That's it. That's it. That's all it takes. That, and like this brother just got finished saying, that and some time. But the thing that we have, and it's just a real unique thing that has transpired, in this world with us as a whole, is that we are very, very, very impatient body of people. White, black, purple, green. We are a very impatient body of people. Social media, has definitely made us even more impatient, if you will. The speed of computers and things to that extent has made us more impatient. And what you all don't realize is that it's the people that actually have patience. Those are the people that actually win the game. The people that have the patience are the ones that win the game. They're the ones that have the ability to just outlast you. That's all it is. That's all it's about. It's just outlasting you. So if everybody shifted their thought process again, we got 119 people on here, if you will. If 119 people on here sat and said, you know what, that damn billion, he might be on to something with this damn prison by the shares situation. He might be on to some shit with that. Let me get with my group of people. Let me get with my folks, if you will. And let's see if we can actually start doing some shit like that. And then again, like he said, you know, shit, if we created some type of coalition to where we all sat and talked to each other, if you will, because the root problem starts with the prison system. It starts with the prison system. Everything else, when you sit and you want to talk about police brutality and shit like that, it comes trickling down from the prison system. If there is no penalty, and there is no gain, then why would one care about your life? Process that for a minute. If there's no penalty and no gain to preservation of your life, then why would one care about your life? See, the thing is that a commercial system, commerce, has no feelings. Commerce doesn't see black, white, purple, or green. Commerce only sees one simplistic component: asset, liability. Asset, liability. That is all a commercialized system sees. So you can continue to run around talking about black power, white power. Neither one of you got power. There's no black power. There's no fucking white power. Both entities are enslaved. You can't be colors. You can't be slaves talking about power. And again, now you sit and say, okay, well, Billion, who would because I thought it was white people that owned all of this stuff, if you will. I thought, isn't it white people that own these, these companies and so on and so forth? Let me help you understand this simple thing. The people that own these companies, they have nationalities. The people that own these companies, they have nationalities. They don't run around calling themselves colors. They have nationalities. And so as soon as you start to get you a nationality, if you will, then the next area, the next component is that you will literally not respond to someone referring to you as a color. It's that simple. You will not respond to someone referring to you as a chattel property label. You're not Hispanic. Ronald Reagan created that shit. So you can't possibly be a Hispanic because Ronald Reagan created it. You can't be a African American because Jesse Jackson created that shit. So you can't be an African American. Plus, Africa and America never fucking came together. So until Africa and America come together, until they come together, you can't be an African American. And if you want to call yourself a Caucasian, listen, last time I checked, the Caucasus Mountains was not a fucking country. The last time I checked. So you can't call yourself a Caucasian. So again, let's double back. Who the fuck are you? Get what I'm saying? Who are you? That's the key. The reason why we all keep having issues and problems, and I'm going to tell you, the reason why I'm talking to all y'all on here is because I would like this system to change and adjust, because when I'm, running around the streets and shit, I don't want, folks with, I don't want people to mistakenly think that I'm a fucking African American or think that I'm a fucking black person or hell, think I'm a white person. I don't want you to fucking mistake me as any of that shit. I'm a goddamn Aborigine. I'm an Aborigine. My ancestors were unfortunately imprisoned, if you will, here on their land, if you will, after they lost the war. Unfortunately. Now it is my responsibility, because I have this thing called the internet, because I have this thing called social media, because I have this thing called a smartphone. It is my responsibility now to buy back my ancestors' lands. It's my responsibility to buy back my ancestors' lands. You know what I'm saying? It is your responsibility, each and every last one of you all. And now, you again, don't get it twisted, because when we sitting on here and you might see somebody that you call them white, you might see them, that white person or whatever, hey, you want to call them white. Unless they blonde hair, blue eyes, they aborigine of this damn landmass too. And I'd have had a whole bunch of individuals get all upset about that. So you sitting there saying the white man is an aborigine of this land. No, I'm sitting and saying that any entity that has any kind of pigment in their hair, any entity that tans and does not burn, if you will, that particular entity has a negroid in them. That's what I'm saying. That part, because you only get pigment from one place, and one place only, a negroid. That is the only place that you get pigment from. So if you walking around with brunette hair or red hair, you walking around, you tan, again, then you my brother, you my sister. And so the minute and the moment, if you all really want to quote unquote stop police brutality, if you will, if everybody wants to stop that, then the first thing that has to happen is you have to help the people that are actually brutalizing entities understand that they are your brothers and they are your sisters. But as long as you make them people think that they are different than you, and as long as they think that they are different than you, then they will treat you like you are less than them. They will treat you like you are less than them. Think about it right now. How many of you all care about the fact that there are people right now over in Syria that that are homeless or losing their lives right now? How many of you all care about all of the people in Afghanistan or all of the people in Iraq that died during a quote unquote witch hunt for some weapons of mass destruction? How many of you all actually care about all of those people that died, all of those people that homes got fucking destroyed? How many of you all lost sleep about that shit? Very few of you all, if any of you all, actually cared. Very few. And the reason why I say very few of you all cared, very few, is because at the end of the damn day, those people are Syrian. Those people are Iraqi. Those people are Afghanistan. You have essentially created a divide in your head. They're not people to you. They're not really people. You see what I'm saying? Because we can very easily move to a point to where tomorrow we have some massacre, if you will, that happens. We have some massacre that happens in the United States. And what do we immediately turn around and do? And say, oh, pray for this area, pray for that area, pray for these people. But why are we not praying for the Syrians that right now, or even, hey, why are we not praying for the individuals that, used to at some particular point in time, control that landmass that is now, common day Jerusalem, if you will. They used to control it. They don't control it no more. Why are we not praying for them people? Have you ever looked at a map of what Israel used to be and what it is now? Have you ever looked at a map of that? Some way, shape, or form, their country grew and Palestine effectively shrinked. We don't care about them people either. You see what I'm saying? So the minute that you move to a point where you don't care about these other people, if you will, but you care about your, side of things, your area, if you will, then, you got to realize that, an individual that puts on a uniform when they put on a uniform, this is something my, father would consistently tell me, because my father put on the uniform. He would consistently tell me, man, listen, when we put on that uniform, it is literally us versus them. Them meaning all of us citizens, if you will. We are all, to police, we are all criminals. We are all criminals. You understand what I'm saying? The minute they put that uniform on, we are all criminals. We all have the ability to hurt them. And at that stage, it becomes them versus us, which is the very reason why, the entity will walk up to your car with their hand on a gun. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's obviously one, trained, it's trained, but two, it is an us versus them. But what I'm sitting and describing to everybody is it doesn't have to be us versus them. It doesn't have to be us versus them. What has to first and foremost happen is we have to start to take control of our commercialized structures as a people. As a body of people, we must take control of our commercialized structures. If you all haven't donated any money to your localized police department, if you will, if you didn't help get your pre-existing sheriff elected, if you will, then the thing is, you have to realize is that those entities, their focus is on the people that actually pay them. Why do you think when those entities that call themselves black, if you will, and we talk about a black community, if you will, why do you think the police show up, late in a black community when something happens versus when, them showing up early, or showing up on time in a quote unquote white community, if you will? It is very, very simplistic. How many fundraisers have you that are dark-skinned entities, black folk, whatever you want to call yourself? How many of you have actually been at a point of putting together a fundraiser for the police chief in your area? I'll wait. How many of you have actually donated money to your localized police department? I am, what is that? Niel, you're correct. Black does not stand because black is not a race.